The three things I struggled with when I started making trap beats were the hi-hats, the 808, and getting the drums to hit hard. I analyzed the top songs from 21 Savage, Drake, J. Cole, and Kanye West so that I can give you an up-to-date guide on the latest hip-hop and trap beat workflows and reason. Stick around to the end and I'll tell you how to get access to the drums I'm using for free. Okay, so I have a quick melody here that I created with some Arturia plugins. Right, so the first step is these hi-hats. So the hi-hats are really simple for modern stuff. It's basically just, all the way through with a couple rolls here and there. So this is what we got, and I'll show you how to do it from scratch. That's crazy, I could see this jumping. Alright, cool. So that's what our hi-hat sounds like. There's a little bit of delay on that and a little bit of reverb. I'll show you what my settings look like in grain so you can see that. But this is the hi-hat, right? And if I were to just start over, this is how I'm doing it, right? So that's what the hi-hat is. And I make that longer and then just duplicate that, Command D on a Mac, and I think it's Control D on a Windows. Now you see that's a little bit too slow for the vibe, so what I did was I shortened it. Just gonna time stretch that and then duplicate that all the way across. Now the quickest way to get these to sound like they're not just straight on the grid is to just slide them off. So I just bring this number up, this last number. There's 4 decimal points here. This last one, there's 3 decimal points, but I brought it up to 7. And that just delays it a little bit and gives it some swing. And normally with swing, there would be some on beat and some off beat, but I'm literally taking all of them and dragging all of them off the grid. So to bring them all back, you can hear that's more in tune with the metronome. But I'm sliding all of them back a little bit. Just to add to the bounce of the beat. So I'm going to duplicate that and join those clips. And then if you want to add a few triplets, you can go in and add some triplets. Best way to do that is to put it in grid mode. So that way when you zoom in, you can see smaller grid lines. And when you add those triplets is just 3 notes back to back. So like this, it's a triplet roll. Could put one here. Could put a little triplet here. Maybe we can do a 4. And then you can even change the timing a bit more. So outside of just doing triplets in the 1/16th time, which is what we got here, you can do the triplets in a 1/8 T time, which sound like this. And I wouldn't worry about sliding the triplets off the grid. You know what I mean? So that's how you get those rolls in there, and you can just put them wherever it feels good. Now I typically put them at the beginning of the bar or the end of the bar. So meaning 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can slide them in the middle if you want to, but typically on the first part where it says 0.1 or on the last part of the 0.3, I'll slide my rolls in just as a guide, but obviously you can break the rules and do whatever you want to do. Now I'm going to leave these hi-hats really simple without rolls, just because I like the vibe of it without the rolls. And if you want to add rolls, now you know how to do so. So now let's go in and add an 808. Okay, so the 808 that I'm using is a part of the 808 Essentials kit, which I'll talk about at the end of this video. But what I'm going to do is unmute this. And I had an 808 pattern here, but I'm going to make one from scratch with y'all. So I'm just going to hit the Alt button down here and it automatically mutes the one I have so I can do another version. Quick tip for anybody who wants to try out multiple different patterns but isn't sure which one you like, just make more than one pattern. So this beat is in B minor, which means my 808 will primarily bounce around the B, but I will use other notes in the scale. So the most basic 808 pattern we could come up with is probably going to be, let's pull this velocity up. I'm going to grab the pen tool with the letter W, and then let's zoom in a little bit. So accident there. So if I just draw these in, that's a basic 808 pattern right there. And then whoops, bring all the velocities up. And I could even go in and use the notes from the melody and do something like, let's say, so we could do something like this at the end. And literally you're just filling for the rhythm. But this little pattern here, dum, 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 that's like the most basic thing you could do with the 808, outside of just putting it on the one. So if you just started off with that, you'd have a lot of room to improve and add notes if you just start off on that downbeat. Now, sometimes the simplest bass lines sound the hardest, so, you know, don't feel obligated to go too crazy if you don't know how to do it just yet. It takes time and practice to get the 808s down, but when all else fails, simplicity wins. All right, and then we just duplicate this over. Join these two clips, Command J on the Mac. All right, and this is what my 808 pattern sounds like that I settled on. It's glitching out a bit. This isn't moving. Now, the last thing to check on when you're making trap beats is making sure that your mix is good and your drums are hitting hard. Now, a lot of times people mix, or they're making their beats and they're not mixing along the way. So what you want to do is make sure you're mixing along the way. Turn down your instruments as you add them. You could use these knobs here to adjust the volumes. Do the same thing with your drums. That brings us back to the beat, and the beat sounds like this. So once you have your drums all leveled out, this is one of my little secret sauce techniques. You're going to select all your drums wherever they are. If they're in grains, in NXTs, whatever, select all the tracks in the sequencer. You could do it in the mixer as well, and or the rack. And you're going to right click and you're going to route to. And you're going to go to, let's go to new output bus. New output bus. And I'm going to call this drum bus. Now, I'm going to use a free rack extension here so you can get it on the Reason Studios website, where all the rack extensions are. And we're going to go to Softtube because it's made by Softtube, and it's the saturation knob. I have the VST version, which is also free, but I'll use the rack extension for you rack folks. And we're going to put our saturation on keep low. And this is going to make our drums sound, well, they're going to obliterate it. It's going to obliterate it. Now, obviously, we don't want it to sound like that. Sometimes you might, who knows. But what we're going to do is we're going to pull this down and slowly bring it up. And you can experiment with where you put the type, keep low, neutral, or keep high. But it just gives it that extra grittiness. Without it, with it. You could also do something like this with Scream. So if you don't want to go download any other plugins or any other rack extensions, I understand you can use Scream 4. And you're going to be careful with this one. Actually, if you use Scream 4, I would take this drum bus right here, create a parallel channel. It gets kind of complicated. But from there, you put the Scream in there. So we're going to go to Effects, Scream 4 Distortion, and we're at the Scream there. That way it doesn't affect everything all at once. Try Fuzz. And you can see why we only want to mix a little bit of that in and not affect the whole signal. There isn't exactly a dry wet knob on Scream that'll give us the most control. So I like to make a parallel bus, which is a copy of the original bus, and then mix in the effect. One thing you could do is also EQ out certain frequencies if you don't want them masking each other. So we can cut out this low end so that the low end of this bus isn't competing too much with our original sound. And you can experiment with different distortions and whatnot. Find something you like. All right. So if you're interested in creating more beats in Reason and you want to learn the ins and outs of Reason, then go ahead and check out that Reason Revolt course, or the Reason Ready course, depending on your skill level, and get started. If you're still here, you might be trying to get those free sounds. You can get those free 808s by clicking on the link in the description for 808 Essentials, and you can sign up for first access to the Dominate drum kit as soon as I drop it. Again, it will be completely free. Getting drum patterns down is obviously crucial in determining the quality of your beats, but so is choosing the right loops or samples and manipulating them in unique and creative ways in order to stand out. Check out this video for tips on how to execute that.